Hey everyone, I'm Chuck Nichols with the Institute for International Business here at the University of Colorado, Denver. This is episode 8 of our Career Spotlight series, where we interview different business professionals around the world to get their insights and experiences with international business. Today, I'd like to welcome Mario Mondragon, CEO of We Protect Security, based out of Mexico City. Mario's business, which he started himself back in 2019, focuses on providing executive protection security for international companies visiting and conducting business in Mexico, and has provided services for big name companies such as Amazon, Netflix, and AT&T. Mario, thank you for taking the time to be here today and willing to share with us a little more about what it is you do.
Hi, Chuck. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you for inviting me to this interview. And like you said, my name is Mario Mondragon. I'm the CEO of We Protect Security Functions in Mexico City. And I'll tell you about a little about what my business is. So, like you mentioned, I work for Amazon, Netflix, and some different companies and celebrities too. We just what we do, we just provide them drivers, bodyguards, any kind of private security they need, is for so they can be sure that they're always going to be protected, and being aware of if there's any dangers around them and all that. So we just basically what we do is just make sure they're always protected, just in any kind of events.
Okay, so you started in executive protection first. What kind of got you first into that kind of career field?
So I started, well, like I said, first of all, I've been here living in Mexico City for 12 years. And a little bit of my life, I came to Mexico when I was 19 years old. I used to live in Iowa. So when I came down here in Mexico, I joined the military, which I just did my 3-year service. And then after that, when I got off my 3-year service, I just started working as a private security. And then that's a security guard. And then after that, I just started seeing people all around the city driving with their bodyguards and their drivers and armored vehicles and stuff like that. So I started liking that kind of life of a bodyguard. I didn't really have an idea what they were until I found out, like maybe a year or two later. So since I have a military background, I mean, like I said, 3-year military background, I started and like informing myself on and seeing what I could do so I could join executive protection. At the moment, I didn't know it was called executive protection. I knew it was called just bodyguards and drivers. That's all. But then after I started taking courses and stuff like that, then I knew that it was executive protection and how executive protection works. Executive protection is more about like the same CEOs, important people, celebrities, and all that. It's just BIP protection. That's more expensive than just a regular bodyguard. It's really different. It's just different. It's just really different. So after that, like I said, I started taking courses. I started getting to know more about executive protection and all that. And then I started working as a driver. What was it? And 2020. Yeah, it was 2020, 2019. Let's see. Yeah, 2019. And then it was 2021 when I started working as a driver. And that was for AT&T that I started working. After that, I spent 4 years with the family, just with the family for 4 years, an expat. And then after that, after the 4 years, I started working as a bodyguard for different kind of companies that I started providing my services. Now, when I started working as executive protection or bodyguard, I used to work for this other company that provide that kind of service for me. By the time I didn't have my own company. Um, and then I worked over the years for different kind of companies. It wasn't just for one. The last project that I did, it was a 3-year term. It was for Amazon that I stayed with another family for 3 years. Was with another family for 3 years. And then after that, before that, so it was going to be maybe a couple months before my contract was over with that family, that I decided, well, I already thought about it. I thought about it for many years. I thought about it for 5 years that I was going to make and have my own company. And, but I really thought that it wasn't the time, because I was still having some doubts about what really having a company is, and the responsibilities, and well, especially money and all that.
Right.
Um, so I just decided to just try by my own. Um, and then I started my company in 2019, like you mentioned earlier. And I started before pandemic, which at the time we basically didn't know what the pandemic really was and knew little things about it. Um, I thought it was the right time after 5 years of really thinking about it. So I just decided to go by my own, having my own company. And then COVID came along, and
Right.
yeah, so it's been basically 2 years and a half now that I've
Okay.
been having the company. So
So before you started your business, you were kind of in various different roles with executive production, from like bodyguard to being a driver, right?
and I yeah, it was just bodyguard or executive protection driver, or I used to coordinate big events just in case if we
Okay.
had a bigger like let's say bigger celebrity, bigger BIP. So the biggest one that I've had here, and that was when I used to just be regular bodyguard for the is Mr. Tony Blair, the second minister of England back then. He's been the biggest one that I've ever had, and it was kind of funny how that worked, because I was just a bodyguard and I end up coordinating, is it, yeah, coordinating, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
the whole entire event, just for because it's really different, how their English it's really different. I mean, and here, I mean, there's lots of people that they do speak English, but at the time, the one who was in charge, he was like, "Hey, I cannot understand him a word." And he's like, "Can you?" And I was like, "Yeah." Then they were like, "Can you just take care of them, because I seriously, like, I can't keep track with them." So I end up just being in charge of that service, and it was a good service. We were with Mr. Tony Blair. We were a week and a half, and when that happened, that I took that I was in charge, it was the first day, and he was like, I can't even. He's like, I can't even understand most of the words that they said, because they just speak so fast, and their
Right.
their accent is way different. So I mean, that was a good thing. After that, I just for the company that I used to work for. I mean, since I actually did provide them a really good service with my crew, the company did notice me, and they and then after that, they just kept me on top of always the roles, and all that, so I could be a supervisor and all that, so I can supervise other bodyguards and like that.
Okay.
And at that time, I was when I did that service, I was 25 years old when I did that. I was
Yeah.
really young, and I had bodyguards that they were, I don't know, I had, maybe by that time I had like a 3-year experience of being a bodyguard. but what really helped me at that time, it was um my language. I mean, that I could speak English really well and I can understand everything they said. And like I said, I had people there that they were like 25 years, but maybe what was my age, they had 25 years of experience, like really experienced people there.
Hmm.
And like I said, it just really helped me on having a really good language. I can
Right.
everything. Yeah.
So doing this for, you said like 4 to 5 years, and then pushing to start your business, was there something in particular that like really drove you to wanting to do this on your own and start your very own business?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. There's always lots of things that makes you at least want to start your own business, because I can't say that I was moving to like moving through, like, let's say, companies through companies, like different jobs and all that. It's just that is way different, like in other countries and like in the US, right? It's really different how pay, salaries and all that. It's really, so here is being a bodyguard and having that kind of salary. It's just like having an accountant or having a lawyer, with a career. And being a bodyguard, you have the same salary as a lawyer or as a as an accountant or something like that. That's how you can compare
Okay.
that. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, if you go to different, like in a different country, like in the US, I mean, bodyguards are so much well paid because it's really different. Culture is really different. um
Right.
yeah, so I mean, especially on payrolls and stuff.
What is,
And
oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead. Oh,
No.
and another thing is just that, um I mean, here in Mexico, you work daily. I mean, you get paid by day.
Hmm.
So that makes you, I don't know, like I said, I mean, I did at the time, I did want to do and start my own business because I always thought about not working for other people, when maybe I could probably just do what I did for another company, do it by my own. But yeah, it took me a while just to really be convinced and say I want to have my own business.
Yeah, that's that's huge because a lot of people have that goal to start their own business, but they never actually make that first step.
Well, yeah, and well, I'll share you an experience. I've had lots of friends, in the same, and well, here in the same, what we do, executive protection. I mean, in the same role. And they started, I mean, or they try to start their own business.
Hmm.
But one of the most important things, like I said, is starting a business. It's getting to know how much money you're going to spend, how much money you're going to spend, and not only on because a lot of people think they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to spend so much money on hiring people, and I'm going to spend so much money on equipment and stuff like that. But we really don't. Well, once we're there, we never think about the things that they're behind. Start well, like, before you start a company. Like when I started my company, I had an idea on what to do, what permits, what kind of permits, I needed, like to get. But then once I started getting deeper and deeper and deeper, things that started coming out. And hey, now you need to get this paper. Hey, now you need to get this paper. And I was like, I thought it was just like, let's get a permit, let's start
Right.
hiring people, and let's start working. And that's not the case.
A lot of little things that like add up, right?
Yeah, let me tell you something. I spend in dollars because it's in dollars. I spend $300 just for a piece of paper, for
Right.
one piece of paper. And I was just surprised on how much that, because I never thought, and that wasn't
Mhm.
even in my plans, like spending $300 just for a piece of paper. So
Right.
I mean, so I think that's one of the biggest things that you really need to think about, on starting.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I was gonna ask like kind of has been your biggest challenge starting your business? And I know you started your business right before the pandemic, which obviously for business that's centered around, people coming to Mexico for travel and for work, obviously that had a huge impact. Are you still seeing the impact from the pandemic, or is it things kind of
Well,
starting to get better?
for the past 2 years, yeah, yeah, well, not only me, like all the companies that are here and all of Mexico City, we've seen the impact. As you know, Mexico City is one of the biggest tourism for travelers to come down here just to visit. Um, but yeah, the impact on that, it was just like an 85% of people coming down here for business or for just pleasure. It just decreased so much that I mean, for the past 2 years, it's been really, really hard. Right now, at this moment, it's been. I mean, people are coming already. People are traveling. People are coming just to visit for pleasure. And I mean, it's getting back on track. But I mean, it doesn't mean that we're 100% on back on track. I mean, we're basically in a 35%. I mean,
Right.
and it's gonna. I mean, I think this whole year is gonna be like that until the end of the year. Until
Hmm.
next year is gonna be when everything's gonna get back the
Yeah.
way it was.
I'm curious how like international business travel changes post pandemic with like Zoom and virtual meetings and everything like that, and people obviously being less money to not have to fly and things like that. So
Right. Well, that's another thing because, like you said, it impacts everything. So, like in my business, like I said, I can't do a Zoom um, bodyguard protection. I can't do that, you know.
right.
So that's another thing. I lose a lot of money when people are not coming. What I do
Hmm.
is just meeting to close deals and all that. I mean, through Zoom we can do that. But I mean, but once I need people to come down here, and especially with the countries and their regulations and COVID and restrictions and all that, Mexico at first they didn't really have restrictions at all until it was maybe past, what was it, past, I think it was past close to a year when we were in
Hmm.
pandemic, when Mexico started having restrictions. So that was a long time. I mean, a lot of people were already sick, and we just, I mean, and it's not only the government's fault. It's
Right.
everyone. I mean, but we just didn't have restrictions at all. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was
Yeah.
nothing.
Um,
So yeah. So like I said, that impacts,
yeah,
well, especially for
I'm
my
sure it definitely
business.
does. Yeah. I guess so for your business specifically, is to say I'm the CEO of a company in the United States. I'm looking to come to Mexico to conduct business, to do a meeting. I'm looking to utilize your services. How does that generally work as far as like me arriving to the airport and then me leaving to go back to the US? Like what would your services actually provide my business?
Well, I always said, I mean, the client always needs to let us know what he needs, what he's going to
Hmm.
do, what kind of activities. At first, what he needs. What does he need? He needs just transportation, like you said. When he gets to the airport, we just pick him up. We call it a pick up and drop off. It's
Okay.
from point A to point B, which is hotel. I mean, airport to the hotel. If he just needs pick up and drop off, we just send bilingual driver. Of course, all the drivers need to be bilingual. Some people, I mean, not always. I mean, some people.
Hmm.
It's some people that come from the states. They actually do try to get their Spanish and try to talk a little bit, or at least try, right, to learn
Right.
and to communicate. But some people are like, oh yeah, I mean, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I mean, just send a bilingual. But usually, what we do, we just have all bilingual drivers.
Okay.
Um, and then we just, like I said, just point A to point B, bilingual driver with um, any kind of vehicle, super van, expeditions, or I mean, there's people that they actually do ask for different kind of like different kind of cars, Mercedes vans. It just depends what the client wants. I mean, what the client asks for, I mean, that's what we're gonna get for them.
Okay.
If we have a bigger event, like I said, a different VIP, a different CEO,
Hmm.
we don't call him CEO, we call him VIPs. That's
Okay.
more, it's more expensive, and it's
Okay.
more detail kind of service. Like I said,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna pick up a VIP in a regular car. Let's say I don't know, a Chevrolet or I don't know, you guys have Nissans or
Right.
Hondas. I'm not gonna pick them up and nothing like that. You got to pick them up in a really nice, um, let's say a 2021 or 2022 new vehicle. I'm not gonna pick them up. I can't pick them up in a vehicle that it's at least 3 years older than the new vehicles at the moment. So it's got to be like so we're in 2022. I got to pick them up like in a 2019 or something like that. I can't pick them up
Yeah,
in any older car because
that makes sense.
um, a lot of people do look at that. I mean, and I've had some VIPs that they're like, "Hey, I want a minivan, a Toyota Sienna. That's what I want." And I'm
That just
like,
to stay like more low profile or
yeah, low profile. Some people just do it
okay.
because of profiles. Yeah, and I'm like, well, okay, but I mean, you
Yeah.
can't stay low profile when you have a minivan with a Suburban full of 6 bodyguards behind you and a driver. You can't. It doesn't
Right.
work. Yeah, and some people do ask for bigger vehicles. I mean, Suburbans and stuff, but armor vehicles. I mean, and now for the armor vehicles, we have level 4, level 5 plus, and now they're starting to be. I've heard that there are different companies that are starting to provide level 6. I haven't seen none of those yet, but I mean, I'm really curious what that looks like.
Yeah. Do you ever so the minivans that's a pretty like funny request, but have you seen
Yeah.
like other big companies like make other like weird requests, like very like specific requests or needs that they want?
Yeah. So we had this client. He was from Canada,
Okay.
and he said he wanted to drive a motorcycle down here in Mexico
Huh.
City. And we're like, no, we can't. We can't have. And he was a VIP. He just
Hmm.
said he wanted to drive. He wanted to have a bike down here. And then he was like, yeah, I just want a motorcycle. And he actually did ask for a specific motorcycle. And he
Right.
was like, but I want bodyguards with me the whole entire time. And we're like, how is that going to work? He was like, well, how many bodyguards? And I was like, he was like, I want 6. And I was like, okay. And then and then he was like, I just wanted to be next to me, following me with motorcycles. I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, that's not, you can't go low profile and nothing like
Right.
that, because I'm not going to have bodyguards driving around and motorcycles, because the city will not allow that kind of thing. It's not, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But that's one of the craziest ones where he was like, oh yeah, he's like, okay, so I'm just gonna find someone else that can do that for me. But then he called us back, and then he was like, well, you know what, no one provide that kind of thing, and that kind of service. We're just gonna do it old style. And I was like, that's not old style, that's how things are
Like
done. I
normal.
mean, yeah, I mean, that's not, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you serve clients from all over, probably mostly the US, is that right?
Yeah, most.
Okay. Is there I guess what are some of like the biggest cultural differences you've seen between I know like conducting business in the US and Mexico is different. So is there anything that you've seen when um other international clients come to Mexico with different things they expect or they don't, realize about how business works in Mexico?
Mm, I mean, it's not that they don't see how business works in Mexico. It's just that there's some clients, they just want to come to Mexico, and like I said, they just want to be around everywhere.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, having bodyguards and having a driver, especially when you have a bilingual driver with you, it becomes uncomfortable, because I've heard lots of clients tell me, hey, you know what, it just becomes sometimes uncomfortable because he's always with me. He's all the time, he's with me.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I understand that. But
It's his
that's
job.
why, yeah, but that's why he's an executive protection driver,
Hmm.
because not only he drives you around, he actually knows where you're at the whole entire time. He knows if you go to the mall, he knows where you're at, because he's going to get off. He's not going to walk next to you, but he's going to be walking maybe in the distance to you. And some people don't like that. I mean, some people, they're like, all
Right.
right, you know what? I've been everywhere in the world, but some people don't like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the biggest things that clients do have with the kind of culture down here, uh, especially. I mean, that's one of the biggest. And then another thing, what on culture, talking about business.
Hmm.
Um, and then another thing is just that people from different countries, um, especially, I had people from Germany, and they are friendly. They are so friendly that they just want to talk to everyone,
Right.
everyone. But I mean, when you come to Mexico, you can't just talk to everyone. I mean, you stick out. I mean, everybody
Hmm.
knows that you're a foreign, especially just by the way you dress. I mean, it's not really hard to tell that you're a foreign. It's not really hard. It's the easiest thing you could do um,
Right.
down here. Just people tell right away that you're not from.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I know we were talking before. It's like if, foreigners wear shorts and like flip flops and things like that, where people in Mexico don't
yeah,
normally wear those out in
you
public,
will.
right?
Well, I'm sorry to say it like that, but you will not see any Mexican, Hispanic, or you will not see nothing like that here. You will not see them
Right.
walking around in flip flops, and no, that will
Yeah, that's
not happen.
definitely a big cultural
Yes,
difference.
it is. It is. It is.
Have you worked with clients from other countries that I guess don't speak English or Spanish? And like, how
Yeah, I've
does
had
that work?
clients from Tokyo,
Okay. Yeah.
and then they had a translator that
Okay.
came with them, but that translator didn't really work because she wasn't speaking the same Spanish that we were. So
Okay. Yeah.
it was she had a Spain Spanish, so
Right.
it's really different.
Yeah. There's a
So
lot of different words I
before,
know.
yeah. So for different things, she was like, we did know what she was talking about, and then she was like saying different words, and we're like, yeah. So we just it was funny because we had to Google it, and then what we just did, she was like, well, after like the third day, she was like, oh, in my phone, I have an app that can translate everything you say in Spanish into my. And
Right.
I was like, yeah, but
That's what I was gonna ask you. If companies, especially like bigger companies, especially like Amazon or whatever, like, do they ever bring their own translators, even if it's for Spanish? Like, do they ever bring their own translator with them?
usually for Amazon, we don't have that kind of trouble. We don't we
Yeah.
don't we never had that kind of issue.
Okay.
But for Nissan or for Toyota, yeah, that's when
Right.
we had
Yeah.
a yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Um, is there any other like challenges with working with different international clients? I guess probably the language barrier is probably one of the bigger ones, but
I think one of the biggest challenges is just to get people to trust you. I mean, trust you. You can't
yeah.
expect someone just because you have a company doesn't mean um your company is I mean is really trustful and I mean and that whatever you put on your website, it doesn't mean that that's what you provide. I mean, it's
Hmm.
really hard to people to trust whatever whatever they're looking for, and whenever, I mean, like you, if you hire a company, nowadays we have lots of access to internet where we could just look for options. You don't just go to the like before on the what was that book, that where all the numbers were and all that. I don't know if you ever saw it. I think yeah, you saw it. I think you saw it. It was that yellow book, I think.
Oh,
It
like
was
the
the
phone book, like the old
yeah, the phone
physical
book.
phone
Yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like that anymore. I mean, we have more
Right.
access to different, not only phone numbers. I mean, we have access to anything we want to look on the internet. So it's not the same.
Mhm.
But I mean, you're just not gonna go with you're just not gonna call a company and be like, hey, I want to hire your company. Okay, yeah, we do this. Okay, let's go with it. Some people do, some people don't. Don't go to the first options. I mean, but especially for executive protections, they want to make sure that you do have everything they need. And by saying everything they need, they do a background check on
Mhm.
your permits, on if you have insurance and all that kind of stuff, the little details that they're not even mixed with executive protection. Because now that, I mean, so instead of asking, hey, does your employee have courses? Well, what's his background? They don't ask that first. They ask about if your company is real and if your company is legit,
Right.
where you're at. Yeah. And
So
then after all those questions, they ask about employees.
yeah, I know we talked about this previously. There's hundreds or probably even thousands of executive protection companies in Mexico, right? Like there's a lot.
1,056.
Yeah. So I guess with your business as CEO, We Protect Security, what what do you do to set your business apart from these other executive protection companies?
Well, I mean, there are I mean, there are, like I said, 1,056 companies from 'em, but I mean, not all of them. They do provide some of them just bodyguard, some of them just do security guards and all that. So I did I looked through companies and see what all of them do provide, and I think it's just like 600 of them that they provide executive protection. Not all a
Okay.
thousand. I think it's just half of it. Um, but I mean, what I what I try to send, well, send or have
Hmm.
in my company that is something new. I just try to do whatever I've been doing for the past years, which has worked for me, which is customer service at first. Customer service for me is really important, that the client always has to get what he needs. Um, just for an example, I'm just going to put an example. Some people, they're always like, I want water, right? But I
Hmm.
want this kind of water. And different, the companies that I used to work for, they were like, oh no, we're just gonna have a bottle of water, but we're not gonna get you. I mean,
Right.
what water you need, you know? And some people are like, hey, you know what? I just want snacks and my vehicle for the whole entire trip. And some companies, the companies that I used to work for, they were like, oh yeah, but we're gonna charge them. We're gonna charge them. I mean, and some people don't like that. They think that everything is included, you know.
Right.
But as a company, you need to tell them that. I mean, at first, you need to tell them that, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna have snacks for you, but everything that we get for you needs to be in your bill.
Hmm.
And and I think explaining everything that you provide on your service, or that your company provides, I think that really needs to be really explained to clients.
Yeah, just
And
being open and honest and
yeah, being open, because some people don't really explain that until you already have the bill, and they were like, hey, so what is this, what is this, what is that,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that
And
makes
then
makes sense.
and then on the other part, just for clients, like I mentioned earlier, some people or some companies, they were like, yeah, we're just gonna have an executive protection driver for you. What I do with my employees is that he needs to follow up wherever the client needs to be. He's in the office, he needs to be there, outside, parked somewhere on the parking lot. If we have space in the building and he's in the parking lot, he needs to be somewhere in the lobby where he's always where he always has signal, where he always has he needs to make sure that he's always aware if the expat or the principal, how we call it here, or the BAP, if he's always walking outside. And I mean, not only with the driver, because if he needs to go far, he's going to call a driver to just to drive him, right? But
Right.
if he needs, let's say, if he needs to walk 5 blocks, 2 blocks, and the driver doesn't know where the principal is or where the expat is, let's say if I go to the site and I ask the driver, hey, where's your expat? He's like, oh yeah, he's still upstairs. And then I see him walking like out of nowhere, and I'm like, I thought you said he was upstairs, right?
Yeah.
Because so that's another thing that I need to have my employees to be aware all the time on knowing where your expat or your principal, your BIP is at. Um, because some companies, they're like, no, my driver, he's not a bodyguard. He can't be walking around with you the whole entire time. He can't be following you everywhere. And
Hmm.
that's another thing that I learned through years working before having my company. That you can't basically, yeah, you're not a bodyguard. You just driver, but it doesn't mean that you can't make sure that that person or the BIP or even the BAP's families, because like I said, sometimes they do come with families, um, that they feel safe and comfortable, that they know if they're, I don't know, they're at the mall looking through stores and all that, that you actually have someone looking, whatever you as a principal you don't see. I mean, you always have
Right.
someone watching your back
Yeah,
and making,
definitely.
yeah,
Um, so I know you just started your business, what, like 2, 3 years ago?
2 years.
2 years ago. Yeah. Do you have any advice for somebody else looking to start their own business, or um, anything maybe that you wish you had known uh, back when you first started your business?
Yeah, I mean, every business is different. Every business is really different. Every business has a different price on, and every business has different paperwork. But if anyone wants to start, let's say, as an executive protection business, um, yeah, the most important thing that you need to know about this business and have knowledge and all that. The first thing you really need to think about is having lots of money.
Right. Yeah.
Lots of
Always.
money. Executive protection, it could be, executive protection can be really expensive at first, but executive protection can have you um can have that money that you already invest. You could, like, you could get it quick. You could get that money back right away, like maybe in a year, maybe 2 years in a good year. I mean, it just depends. But I
Right.
mean, you really need to know. And I mean, like me, when I started my business, like I said, I always looked and I saw and the details and the requirements and all that that needed, and it didn't really look hard at all. It was, I thought it was easy.
Hmm.
But then, like I said, when I started getting deeper and deeper and deeper, I'm closer on having my business and getting it like running, and then little details are the ones that are more expensive. So you really need to know what you're getting into, and you really need to ask. If I would have known, I would have asked people hey, what are the little details that executive protection can, I mean, what can you tripped on the way, you know, what kind of,
Hmm.
what, I mean, those little details that can just stop you from not having your business. If I would have known those things, because little details, believe me, those little details are the most expensive things that I have dealt with.
Right.
But I mean, I was already halfway. I mean, I just couldn't. I couldn't let it go. Just like I spend thousands of, well, here pesos, and yeah, thousands of
Mhm.
dollars too.
Right.
And I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't. I couldn't.
I guess
So
one of
I
the
just,
go ahead.
yeah. So I just think, um, yeah, just get to know the business that you want to be, or the business that you want to start, and get to know all the details, everything
Okay.
you need to be aware. And like I said, well, it's been hard for me
Hmm.
for the past 2 years on pandemic. Just imagine if it's hard being without pandemic and getting clients, and not having money when everything is normal. Just imagine how hard it's been for the past 2 years with pandemic, when people are not traveling at all.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to start a business, but then if you add the pandemic in, obviously that doesn't really help at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I guess one of the last questions before we wrap up here, we're for your business, obviously still super new. Where do you think, where is your kind of your goal in maybe a couple years, 5 years? Where do you want your business to kind of grow to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Um, so yeah, so like I said, my business I started down here in Mexico, but my goal is to have a business in the States too. I mean, have a, just like a chain. I mean, it's got to be a chain. Just Mexico, US, and Canada. I mean, I do want to have international, but I think this going to be a little bit difficult on government restrictions and different kind of laws, and every country has the different laws. I've
Mhm.
studied. I already studied through different countries, and I think Canada, US, and Mexico, and Latin America are the most, um, I mean, comfortable
Mhm.
countries that I work on. And then the rest of the world, I think it just comes along by itself. I
Right.
mean, yeah, because I'm like, well, nowadays with Zoom and all that, I mean, yeah, we have meetings and all that, but some people do want to meet persons.
Mhm.
I've had a client last year that he was like, "Oh, can you come to Australia?" And I was like, we can do a meeting on Zoom. He's like, "No, no, no, I just want to meet in person." But I mean, but just because he wants to meet you in person, you really need to think about it, because it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that you're going to close a deal with him. Maybe he just wants to meet you. That's all. I mean, in Australia, it's not 30 minutes from here. I mean, this is,
Right.
so I mean, and I just didn't know why he didn't want to meet through Zoom. It was going to be the same thing, face to face. But I mean, we all have our difference. But he
Yeah.
was that he had a bigger company. I mean, he had a way bigger company. He had a
Right.
millionaire company. So um, I wasn't gonna tell him that, but at the time I was struggling, and but I mean, I just don't think people sometimes don't understand. I just had to let it
Yeah.
go.
It's difficult because a lot of countries are, their culture is different and they want that face
They
to
want,
face
yeah,
meeting. They want that long term, relationship over years or whatever. So it's definitely different than how we do things here. Um,
right.
but well, thank you, Mario. I appreciate you taking the time to be here and share your experiences and your advice and everything like that. And thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Chuck, and hopefully um, this can help someone that I mean, not only for executive protection, like I said, for any type of business.
Yep.
I mean, this words can help someone.
Absolutely. I think it definitely will. So, all right. Thanks, Mario. Thanks, everyone. And we will see you all later.
All right. Thank you.